Let's add a new coral to this tank. And because the corals that I've been adding to the tank recently have all been the same species, I wanted to talk about how to actually care for these types of coral. Now, in the coral hobby, these are considered Euphyllia coral, even though in the scientific community they have been recently reclassified as Frimbophilia. In the coral hobby, the Euphyllia coral are subdivided into different categories based on the tentacle structure of the coral. So, for example, this coral would be considered a hammer coral. This coral, I would consider this coral a hybrid between a hammer and a frog spawn. So, some people might call that a frammer. And then you have a coral that looks like this, which would be considered a frog spawn because it looks like frog eggs. With these corals, you have two different growth types. So, you have like a coral like this, which is considered a wall. So, the width and length of this coral will continue to grow almost indefinitely. And then you have this type of growth pattern, which is considered branching. So the polyps themselves are actually smaller and they continue to grow out like tree branches almost. And these corals really aren't that hard to keep. You really don't have to give them that much light. One thing that you do need to pay attention to is how much flow you give the coral. So you can kind of see that they're not getting that much flow right now. They're kind of gracefully swaying with the flow. And that's all you really want in terms of flow. And when it comes to nutrients, you want to have some measurable phosphate and nitrate. You never want to get into a situation where you have no phosphate. You don't want to use something like GFO and strip all of the phosphate out of your water. You'll have an extremely hard time growing coral in that type of environment. I think these corals are really cool. These corals are one of the first corals that I saw, and it just made me fall in love with the hobby. The first time I saw a massive colony of frog spawn, it made me go, I want to grow this in one of my tanks too. This looks awesome. If you spend any amount of time in the hobby, I feel like the wall variants of this type of coral gets some hate, and I don't really understand why. I think they look pretty cool. Most people gravitate towards the branching variety. I'm assuming because you can frag them and the idea is that you can sell them and stuff like that. But to me, that doesn't really matter. I think the wall variants look really cool. If you want to watch this tank grow out and you want to see the progression of this tank and you want to see how it ends, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys next time.